Okay, so welcome everyone. Lovely. I was wondering if anyone would appear this evening, but I see that some of us have, so welcome. And if you could sit up, let's just sit up to begin and relax your shoulders and make sure the weight of the shoulders is over the hips and gently elongate your spine. And allow all the muscles of your face to just naturally relax, any tension in the jaw, behind the eyes, the palate, and the throat. And I would like to open this evening's exploration with a very natural relaxing into a place of silence. And this silence is not contingent upon external sounds. This is a silence that is really the primal presence of our being. This is not a presence of silence that we can think about, that we can talk about, that we can describe. And also it's not a silence, it's not a presence of silence that we can cultivate, because we are already this all-pervasive presence of silence. So the invitation is to not think about it, not try to find it, not be concerned with any external sounds, but allow yourself to just naturally fall back into it, relax into it, settle into it. This open, expansive presence of silence. Now, yoga. Let's just continue to relax just for a few more moments in this presence of silence. And just to notice that from this place, when we are able to finally relax enough and quiet enough internally to just bask, if you will, to be, if you will, in this presence of silence, what then we get to notice, what we get to observe firsthand, is that everything then just appears and disappears within this presence. So the quieter we become, the more we allow this silence to permeate our presence, and our presence to permeate this silence, then we notice that all vibration of sound arises, appears, and disappears. All the vibration of the physical body, all sensations appear and arise, and likewise disappear. All of the thoughts that find our way in this screen of the mind are appearing in this presence of silence and disappearing in this presence of silence. So again, this is not a state we're able to cultivate because we are already that state. It's a more of a relaxation and a drawing inward and just being at peace with it, just being at peace that this is our center, this is our infinity, this is our presence, this is our consciousness, and if you will, this is our divinity. So the yoga postures that we do, we take a little time to adjust physically, to allow ourselves to relax and observe through layers of sensation. But then we want to hopefully have some time where we keep relaxing back into this silence. And then we become just this non-judgmental witness of our experience. But our baseline, if you will, our foundation is this place of silence. Good. So let's begin to move a bit. I want to sort of open the shoulders a bit. And what I'm going to suggest is something for your head so we can keep the head from wading into the neck. So we don't want to feel this in the neck too much. So what I've done is I've used a bolster and a blanket. So my head is really supported. And I'll just show you here. So if we didn't have this, obviously my head would hang down, and this is not conducive to opening this shoulder. So I just brought something in. So as you can see, it's just totally supporting my neck. So the side of my head is pretty much parallel to the floor. But then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn around to show you the arm position, and I'll explain it as well, because it's a little tricky to describe, as I was telling Helene there. So what we'll do is let's come onto your left side, and you can bring your knees up, put your head on that pillow, and just sort of curl up. So the right shoulder is directly over the left shoulder here. Yeah. So just get comfortable here. Really do make sure the head is supported the way that I described. And then let's see, make sure you can see me. Yeah, I think you can see me. Yeah, good. So what I would like you to do here is, if you're on your left side, you're resting on your left shoulder, take the right arm and just stretch it up over your head here, towards the ceiling. And then without bending the elbow too much, let it start to drift back, but just the arm. And this is what I wanted you to see. So pretty much the right shoulder is still over the left shoulder. It's just the weight of the arm that's now pulling in, and you're resisting letting that shoulder go back. If I didn't resist, what it would look like, we just go into a reclining twist. The shoulder would go back towards the floor. So what I'm suggesting is resist the right shoulder going towards the floor. Keep it pretty much over the left shoulder. Let the weight of the arm drift back towards the, let that arm have some leeway. So it doesn't have to be just coming right directly out of the shoulder directly in back of you. You can move it towards the head a little bit. You can move it towards the waist. So just feel the weight of the head. And obviously a little bit of the shoulder is going to give, depending on how you're feeling. You may need to bend the elbow. You may need to release the shoulder a little bit. But for the most part, I think you know what I'm talking about. So just let that arm start to pull you in. Yeah, good. Pull you in. I don't know about pulling you in, but I think you know what I mean. And then just give yourself time to settle. And what I mean by that is just to observe that, typically when we, contort the body like this and we intentionally come to our edge of discomfort, there's going to be some reactivity to that. So what I'm suggesting is that's okay. So you feel that the physical body needs to relax and adjust. Whatever feelings or thoughts have been evoked by this position, by this discomfort, they need to also express. They need to be there. So we're not pushing them away, but what we are doing is slowly letting them settle. So from the place of the awkwardness and the compression, move towards relaxation. And whether that's adjusting or just relaxing or calming your breath, all of these things work together, so we can then just step back then from all this reactivity. And then once we've settled, once we've stepped back from this reactivity, then we relax deeper into this silence that I'm suggesting, that is our fundamental presence. Good. So from here, just a very simple transition. What I would like you to do from here now is release that right shoulder. So allow the right shoulder to come all the way down to the floor. Of course, this may, depending on your intrinsic lower back muscles, may then want the legs to come up a bit. So keep both knees as close to your chest as you can, but if they need to come up a bit because this angle of the twist has obviously changed from upper to lower, that's perfectly okay. But we want to try to bring that right shoulder all the way to the floor. Yeah, so we're just now in a very simple reclining twist. And then feel free to adjust the legs accordingly. You can just keep them there. You could open up the top leg if you like to do that. You could put the right foot below the knee on the floor. So whatever reclining twist you enjoy here, we're just trying to sort of offset and complement the upper spine twist that we started with, now down into a lower lumbar twist. And as you settle once again with the geometry of the position, and then allow yourself to drift uh, towards this silence, this deep inner place of presence. And this is an interesting thing that I say, that it's a place that cannot be cultivated because we already are this. But what we can do is we can eliminate what it is not. So when we hear the inner narrative, when we are being reactive with our feelings or our physical sensations, we know it's not that, because that arises, that appears and disappears. So we allow that. We just allow the arising, and we allow the appearing, and we allow the disappearing, and without then attaching or getting entangled with these external experiences, even thoughts external to the presence of silence. This allows us then to be drawn into this I want to say, I was going to say a deeper place, but it's not really deeper, because it's all pervasive. There's no place that you are not this. Okay, so from here, let's just bring those both knees up so the feet are flat on the floor, and you can just relax your legs out. We'll just take a moment here, since we just did 2 twists, so just allow yourself to relax here. And then let's do the other side. So this time we're going to obviously roll over onto our right side into the fetal position. Yes, bringing the knees up, and again supporting the head. And yeah, I think it's hard to do this backwards, but so again, we'll then allow the left arm to just go right towards the sky over the head, and then start just the arm start to drift back. So when it starts to take the shoulder with it, resist that. Yeah, leave the shoulder pretty much where it is. Let the whole weight of the arm then find its edge, and then drift again towards the head a bit, towards the waist a bit, and just find a place where you want to settle for the duration. And that could change with the arm over time, but initially we want to sink into where that edge resistance is. In addition to observing what this pristine silence is not, we can also reinforce it when we begin to experience it. So what I am suggesting, as we relax and as we draw inward, that we naturally, as we let go of the distractions of the experiences that are just happening and coming and going, there is this place that is a presence. So when we slip into that, and typically we slip in and out of that because a thought or a little pain or a feeling will bring us back out to, for us to react to. But when we do finally slip in and allow this inner quietude to be pervasive, we want to reinforce that. We want to identify with and as that. Okay, so the same transition, we'll keep the legs up close towards the chest, and then we're going to let this left arm and left shoulder find its way all the way to the floor. So it's nice and feels nice and grounded. Doesn't matter if the legs separate, come up a bit, loosen. The groundedness of this position is to keep that left shoulder on the floor, and then you can play with the legs as you will. You may want to loosen them, open them a little bit, and sometimes this draws you into different sort of strands of the lumbar. Pull them up to the chest. Like I said, you can open that top leg and use the weight of it to draw you deeper. So just explore, but keep the left shoulder down. Relax. Relax. Observe. Become quiet. just allow the intake of the breath and the outtake of the breath to be permeated with gratitude, and allow that gratitude to also permeate your whole body. So whatever challenges that you are dealing with on the physical, emotional, or mental level, it's still a tremendous, wondrous gift that we have this physical organism that we can learn whatever lessons we're here to learn, from the extraordinarily simple to the mystical and esoteric. It's a profound gift that we have this body, that we have this breath, and we have this capacity to explore, and through that exploration to learn whatever it is that life is kind enough to share with us. Good. So let's bring those knees back up, if you will, and relax them out. And we'll take just a short rest here to regroup before we come into the first position. Or I guess this would be the second position. And again, even if it's very subtle and you find yourself thinking about this silence, thinking you can find your way to it somehow with a technique or a mantra, if you find yourself feeling blocked, anything that you can visualize, conceptualize, feel, it's not it. So let this relax as well. Whatever has appeared, even if it's subtle and spiritual and seems like it's going to take you right there, let that appear, honor it, let it disappear, and keep relaxing inward. We can't think about it, we can't conceptualize it, we can't cultivate it. It is fundamentally and primally who we are. Be still and know. Okay, let us come on up, if you will. And if you have a large bolster, take the large bolster out. If not, I think you maybe know by now that pillows work just as well. So you can replicate what we're going to do with pillows. Yeah. So either way. And then take the big bolster and sit up and put it under the knees and bring the soles of your feet together. Good. So we're just taking this first forward bend as just as simply as possible to just isolate that lumbar, lower thoracic area, so we can really just ease into it, yeah? Not push into it. Sometimes I also like to put a blanket over the top of my feet just to place my hands there, or my forearms just for some support. Sometimes a little bolster works nice there, just to, even though, this torso weight, we can control it. Sometimes we want to also support it. So be as supported as you can be. If you start to come forward and you're holding your skull with the muscles in the neck, let the muscles in the neck release. So we're really surrendering to any holding and just allowing the edge to find us. When we start to feel that tugging and the resistance,
this is really where the posture begins. So we want to feel loose and open in the body, and calm and relaxed in the mind. And then the posture is just absolutely perfect. Doesn't matter its shape or its depth. So just settle in here, relax.
So not a concern, and not an exploration of the mind, not a concern and not an exploration of the body at the level of self-image, who we think ourselves to be, but an exploration of the inner body. And this inner body doesn't respond to language or concepts. This inner body responds to feeling. So the opportunity is to allow your awareness to just drift through your body and feel any sense of contraction. So we can feel that. We don't have to think about that. So feel for contraction and then really feel it. Again, don't analyze it, don't judge it, don't wish it wasn't there. When you come upon a contraction of this inner body, feel it. And see if you can feel it as energy, because fundamentally, this is what it is. And then let that energy, let the contraction at the level of energy, let it vibrate, let it open, let it naturally begin to flow and recalibrate deep within you. And this is very, very different than coming upon a contraction and contracting even more. And what I mean by that is coming upon something that maybe is dense or painful, and then superimposing a layer of mind over it, a diagnosis, a fear, a feeling of I'm not safe. So don't feel into the contraction and contract. feel into the contraction, feel it as energy, and let the density vibrate, and just naturally let it open. Nothing, no forcing it, no strategies or techniques. Just let your energy vibrate as it was meant to do, freely and flowing. Okay, so let's come on up from here. Yeah, just such a lovely forward bend with the support. And you can put your support to the side. And then from here, let's continue the same forward bend, but we'll add a few angles of resistance. So let's let the right leg extend out in a relaxed way. Let's bring the left leg somewhere on the inside of the that right leg, and support it however you need. If the left leg is pulling into that hip or the knee feels, you can open the leg out. You can bring support under it. It's really up to your body. But the same thing with the forward bending. My suggestion always, this is yin as opposed to a yang style active yoga. Relax, soften, bring that body weight in slowly. Feel this, this place of contraction where we want to explore. Make sure you're completely supported. So we're not even concerned about time. We're at a depth that's just right, so we can begin this rather very sensitive exploration. What I'm suggesting, to feel into contraction and not react to it. This is not as easy as it sounds. This is a cultivating of a great somatic intelligence. So we want to honor, where we are at with that. And it can be very, it can be frightening to feel something of this density, this pain, something symptomatic, and resist diagnosing it, because we live in a culture that has guaranteed us that, any symptom that is presented can be fixed. And sometimes there are symptoms and contractions that it's appropriate to fix them. What's just as valuable is allowing ourselves to have an energetic relationship with the body and see if we're needing something more intelligent, if you will. I'm not saying that fixing doesn't have its own intelligence, but I'm talking about an intuitive intelligence where the healthy body really heals itself. And this is what we're exploring, that healing energy that is the intelligence of our life itself. And this is why we put such value on stillness in yoga, because at some level, and again, we're using language to point to what is beyond language, but at some level, stillness and silence are the same thing. So part of the relaxation and part of our capacity to open is to simply be still. To be still without resistance, without moving away from anything, without moving towards anything. And then this presence of silence it just reveals itself. It's a recognition. There's nothing we need to do. Good. So let's come on up from here. And let's straighten that left leg out. And just take a moment to just kind of shake it out a little bit, just kind of sway the hips a bit. And then let's go back to where we were. So bring your bolstering under the knees again and bring the soles of the feet together. And the same thing. So second time, be even more sensitive. So you've started to open something, you've approached places of density and contraction. So that's what we're here to explore. Don't bypass them. So use that openness to take you to maybe a different aspect or layer of sensation, but be as sensitive as you can. We're doing these positions slowly and holding them in order to appreciate and cultivate the power of nuance and subtlety. So again, doesn't matter how deep you think you need to go or what it looks like. We're using these shapes to evoke a number of things, to try not to react to what is evoked, but let the whole vibrational expression relax so we can sink into this quiet place. And then from this quiet place, we simply investigate. And not even investigate. Sometimes, yes, we do investigate, but it's more like we just observe. And very, very powerful to sit quietly and observe the comings and goings of your own body, mind, and heart without getting involved. Not getting involved with yourself. It made me think of this this thing that I think it was Chogyam Trungpa said. He said, best not to start, but once you start, best to finish. So you have started this investigation of yoga, the exploration of the nature of yourself at its deepest or purest level. So once you've started, best to finish. Good. So let's come on up from here. And again, we'll just remove the bolstering. We'll let both legs stretch out. And this time we'll obviously leave the left leg out and bring the right leg somewhere along the inside of that left leg. And again, nice and slowly. So I like to come when I'm forward bending, whatever the shape of the body, I like to come to about 50% and then sway that body weight, that torso weight. So again, not being concerned about some universal alignment, but let the tightness and let the misalignment in your pelvis and your lower back dictate where you might want to spend the time. And you can stay at 50%, or then you can just see if the body will allow you to go into it a little bit deeper. But everyone has that sweet spot where it's best to explore, and it's not always at what you would consider a full depth. You know, sometimes it can take, you know, half the pose to get to your full depth for that moment, your range of motion, because it's all fluid and there's this incredibly beautiful biotensegrity of how the fascia is pulling, and one part's pulling and the other's pushing on something, and it's this incredibly fluid dance that's happening within your body. I think healing, no, excuse me, fixing, the qualities of fixing are certainly when the mind is full of deliberations and questions and information, and the intellect of the left brain is very involved. And sometimes this can be incredibly beneficial to have this capacity. A healing, on the other hand, is when we are able to quiet relax into this silence of the unknown. This is certainly a place of I do not know, and trust that the intelligence that actually created us and the intelligence that brought us the issue, the problem, the pain, that same intelligence will sustain us, will maintain us. So it's a very much a non-doing. It's very much a letting go. It's very much a trusting, not just energetically, but the intelligence of how the energetics hold us in place, allow us to breathe and to think and to feel. So it's good to have a bit of a distinction and discernment between fixing and healing, because if we're trying to heal something that needs to be fixed, not so good. If we're trying to fix something that needs to be healed, again, the two can inform each other, certainly, but to have a clarity about that can be very, very powerful to move through the challenges.
So let's come on up. And let's
lie down and take a rest. In some ways, we want to allow ourselves to be at this place where every moment is a mantra. And giving each moment this this incredible, I don't want to say concentration, but this incredible awareness that we're capable of, this gift of awareness, and how we can allow it to unfold in each moment. This is what I mean by having every moment be a mantra, because we also have the capacity to spend a lot of time reliving, rethinking memories, and we can spend a lot of time projecting and creating concerns and being distracted by what's about to happen in the next moment and the next 1,000 moments. And nothing wrong with that. Sometimes to navigate, we need to project and we need to recall very good things. we also can bring more sensitivity, more awareness, more clarity to each moment, to bring our life into a focus. And it's amazing sometimes what we can miss. It's amazing we can be in this sort of blur of past and future, and it can get very blurry. But to allow every moment to be a mantra. Okay, so let's come on up, please. And so don't worry too much about this next thing. I'm just going to suggest something, and it may or may not work out the way I'm suggesting. It doesn't matter. You will still get the full benefit from it. What I have done here is I've rolled up, well, this is a towel and a blanket. You could use 2 towels, you could use 2 blankets, that doesn't matter. And what I've done is I've rolled one a little bit higher than the other. So this will determine on sensitivities in your lower back. You may want to bring them much lower, a little bit higher. But what I've also done is I've brought one of them lower than the other. So if I'm sitting in front of these and they're crossways, they're horizontal from hip to hip, then I want to put the one that I rolled lower close to my lower back. The one that I rolled higher close to that one. So I've got 2 rolls in back of me. The first one I can touch right in back of me is a little bit lower than the first one. Again, don't worry if you don't get this just right, but what this will do is this will support the lumbar and put more of this in the mid to lower thoracic. And then we're gonna do this for a while, and we're gonna either reverse it or just take one of them away. So we can go from the mid lower thoracic into the full lumbar. Yes, and this is lovely. The 2 rolls, most of you have done these before, but it has this sort of pulling, tractioning, as well as a compressive thing to it. So feet on the floor, holding your 2 rolls in. Hopefully they're nice and tight rolls. And then coming just to your forearms, snuggling the butt down to the floor, making sure that's good. And then letting the upper body come back. So before you release the feet, you may want to check in like, no, this is not good, too much. Oh, I could use a little more. Feel free to come up and re-roll your rolls, to get the appropriate height. And then you'll once you have relaxed the upper body down, you feel safe, then let the legs relax out. Yeah, so keep the buttocks on the floor. And if you're feeling that upper one, the roll closer to the head, really pressing into the lower back in this sort of princess and the pea kind of way, and then you're doing it right. It's not meant to be comfortable. There's a little support for the lower back, the compression more in that mid to lower thoracic, and then just relax your arms. Good chance you won't need something for the head except maybe a little comfort. So don't bring the chin way down. Let the chin stay a little bit even or even above the forehead a bit. And then we'll just begin. Oh, yeah. It's very naturally allowing your senses to relax, drawing all those, vehicles for sensory stimulation to relax. Draw your energy into your inner body, and then keep feeling into it. Keep feeling into any sense of contraction, and allow the contraction to be genuinely felt. It's not necessary to label it. And as you feel it, begin to transform your experience of it as it's simply energy, and to allow that energy to open and to flow and to feel free. So this is just a very deep, intuitive process. Don't jump up to the mind and figure out how to do it. Don't jump up to the mind and turn it into a technique. It's not a technique, it's felt. As a matter of fact, the more you get out of the way of it, you're allowing your somatic intelligence to really guide you. It's a knowing that in the depths of the ocean, there's always a sense of calm. And this is irrespective of any storms that are raging on the surface. So this is our opportunity. A yoga asana is an opportunity to simply sit quietly at our depth, irrespective of anything that's going on, any storms, any choppiness or chatter at the surface, and genuinely relax and genuinely come into this presence of stillness, this presence of silence. And when I suggest to drift through this inner body and feel into contraction, this doesn't simply mean these points of discomfort or pain right where the bolster is, or right where that one spot that you feel may be an old injury or something that's not right. Certainly that's a valid place to explore the contraction, but I also mean throughout the entirety of your being, contraction that's in the tissues, this sort of vague anxiety, a contraction that's in the mind, these repetitive, obsessive thoughts that seem to not go away. They seem to have a solidity to them, a feeling in the heart that there's a tightness in the heart, that there's even a small corner that's not allowing the light to be transparent in it. So the contraction is vast and multi-layered and mysterious. So when we enter the domain of the inner body and we're feeling into contraction, don't limit it to just the specifics of physical sensation. Allow it to permeate and vibrate through your entire being. And it doesn't matter if you don't understand what I just said, your body does, your soma does, your pulsating heart does. This is what we're really doing more and more, is not being so attached to the language, but feeling it, letting the body resonate to the teachings and to the posture and to the breathing. Good, so let's put the feet on the floor. Yeah, and see how this is going to go to get out of this. I would just let the knees sway back and forth a little bit, and try not to grimace too much, but keep your face relaxed, keep breathing. Just think softening, melting. Oh, yeah. And we're going to go back into this. So let's, at some point when the knees go to one side, keep them going, and let's roll off of it. And you can either roll into a fetal position here, just something for a mild forward bend, or you can come into, if you like, sometimes it's nice to child's pose here, come into a forward bend. And then we'll just take a brief respite here, and then we will continue this forward bend with a bit of an alteration. If you're in child's pose, you can just sway your hips a little bit, lean into that tugging. And then let's come on up. So 2 things I will suggest here for you. One is you can just switch the position of the rolls. If you have a lower one and a higher one, you can take that lower one, the smaller one, and put it then behind it. So now when you're sitting and the blankets are side to side horizontal, you have the bigger one up. So what this will do is this will catch now more in the lumbar. Yep, let's see. Oh, yes, it does. Aye. And you let the legs out. And then you still have a little bit in the lower thoracic. This is very nice as well, because there's a little bit of pulling at that top of the lumbar, bottom of the thoracic, not to mention what's going on in the depth of that sacral lumbar spine. Or you could just remove the small one or remove the big one and just use one. So just using one then takes some of that complication of the thoracic spine out. Oh, this is nice too. Yeah, so either way, buttocks on the floor, either 2 with the bigger one closer to the lumbar, or just the one, but they're both lovely in their capacity for discomfort. So just keep relaxing. And again, anything that you know, are taking in, you know, no need to, you know, make sense of it in any way. You know, no need to reconcile it. No need to even know if it's true or not, but just allow your body to resonate or not. This would be up to your body. So I just want to mention that we have these three approaches to pain, whatever the pain is. So the first approach is the most typical approach, is that, you know, this is just an awful feeling and I wish it would go away. So from this approach, it doesn't go away. We can often move it around. We can suppress it. We have many ways to deny it, but this is an approach to pain, and it is much more typical than we might imagine. Just, this is not good. I don't like it. Please go away. The second approach to pain, a little more sophisticated, is to recognize that this is information about where our body mind may be out of balance. Yeah, so this is interesting. So we take it, we're not wanting it to go away, we're honoring it as a messenger of information to see where this complex of the body mind might be out of balance. So the third way to explore pain, this is the real nuance of yoga. This is really to start inquiring into the non-narrative aspects of the experience. So by non-narrative, obviously, I mean not superimposing a diagnosis or a thought pattern onto it. And this, we want to be very open-ended and really undefinable. And then we begin to lean into the pain. Our approach to pain is then, it's just a complex energy presence. Yeah, this is so beautiful and something really to contemplate. So it's not taking the dialogue, not taking the narrative, not taking the storehouse of knowledge and putting it in a container. It's a non-narrative approach that we want to be, you know, ultimately undefinable, and really starting to recognize these sensations as this, and we could replace the word complex with mysterious, this mysterious energy presence that's giving us this feedback. And so then the beautiful thing about a simple yoga asana is we get to contemplate this as we're actually feeling it. So this doesn't become a removed, you know, intellectual exploration. We're actually feeling this mysterious energy presence. We're actually allowing ourselves to go to this non-narrative aspect of the experience and sink into it. So it's direct. It's unfolding breath by breath. Good. So again, let's put the feet flat on the floor. This time, well, I undid my rolls, but this time I'm going to suggest just to elevate the hips up a bit and place the pelvis on the roll. Yeah, so from the lumbar here, if you have the feet on the floor, you can carefully and slowly and safely bring the pelvis up and then just slide the body back a bit and just place that on the pelvis. It's just a nice way to really gradually release the whatever you're releasing, whatever's back there. What did I call it? A complex energy presence. That's what this is. And then when you're ready, again, you can put the feet on the floor and just slip that out from under, and let's take a rest. Good. So we're going to keep resting. So not to worry. I'm not disturbing this rest after those lengthy backward bends to do another posture, but to rest. But I would like to do something specific. So a couple of things is if you have the large bolster, you can start with that. And then I'd like to build it up a little bit. So I'm putting a folded blanket on the big bolster, and I'm putting the small bolster on top of that. So if you have pillows, stack them rather high, because what I would like to do is I would like to bring the legs up. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the calves on this little tower that you've built. You can even go up a little higher. Yeah, so I'd like to maybe get the calves like parallel to the floor, the bottom of the calves. So just build it up. Whatever you have, pillows, bolsters. Yeah, so this is much better. Yeah. And so we'll just then bring some distance between the buttocks, but I just want to have both legs nice and high. So the calves are on what you've built, the feet are hanging off, and the lower back is relatively flat on the back, on the floor. And then I would like you to take a second, like little towel, or this is a small blanket, and roll it and put it under the neck. Yeah, so I would roll this a little more. So basically the back of the head is not touching the floor. It's just kind of grazing it. So I'm making this bigger, this roll. Oh, yes, that's perfect. Yeah. So yeah, if you could just let the back of the head graze or be off the floor. So this elevates the chin up, really supporting the cervical spine and having, so I'm having my buttocks fairly close to this contraption. So the femurs are not pulling out at all. I want them completely relaxed. So any way you can put the calves on this bolstering and just relax here. So the hips are nice and relaxed. And we just feel the length of the back line relaxing. The arms can be out to the side. Might be nice to put a little blanket if you're a little chilled. Okay, I will try not to stay in that and fall asleep there. Good. So before we sink into this spaciousness and this sense of the inner body, I just like to invite you to breathe a bit more consciously. And what I'm going to suggest is to just breathe long, slow, and deep. So by long, I mean to just lengthen the breath on either end of it. A little bit longer inhale, a little bit longer exhale. Long, slow, to just allow your breath to slow down. So we're not in a hurry to get to the end of the inhale or the end of the exhale. Long and slow. And if we start to breathe long and slow, deep will just naturally happen. Unfortunately, as many of us know, when we attempt to keep our focus on our breathing, that very, very shortly the mind will hijack us away. And so we may still be breathing, but we're not allowing our awareness to allow this long, slow, deep, rhythmic pattern of breathing. So what I would like to do is just for a couple of minutes is just remind you to stay with this. We're going to breathe long, slow, and deep. I would also recommend, if you're able to, for this to close your mouth and just breathe through your nasal passages. And this has many benefits, but for our purposes, if this is unfamiliar to you, it can help to keep reminding you to stay with the breath. So a couple of minutes, relatively short amount of time, but you see, if I am not guiding, the mind will want to lean in and take you someplace else. The mind always thinks that there's someplace that is better or more important until it gets there, and then it says, no, maybe there's someplace more important or better, and it's a crazy cycle. So just stay with this. Breathe, mouth closed if you can, long, slow, deep. And be curious about your breathing patterns. So if you feel resistance, if the mind is right there, kind of chattering at the periphery, just notice what you notice. But see if you can stay with it for a little longer. Breathe longer. Breathe slower. And allow yourself to feel deeper. And really feel the presence of the breath. Feel the subtlety, feel the sensitivity, long, slow, feel the aliveness, and deep. And just see if you can allow yourself to just fall into just the breath. Just let anything that arises be absorbed into the breath. Long, slow, and deep. Any thought, any concern, any pain, any distraction, let it be absorbed into your breathing. Long, slow, deep. Good. So I will stop reminding you now. If you choose to stay with this, just notice. If you choose to allow your awareness to expand beyond the breathing and just open, your choice. And when I suggest that discomfort is an energy presence, a mysterious energy presence, I do not know if this is true unless I am exploring it directly. So a part of our investigation, part of the investigation of yoga is to explore the raw material of your experience. So whatever you are experiencing, get closer to it. This is the drawing inward. This is the sensitivity. This is the letting go of thinking you know, and explore what is experience. And especially with pain, because it's so much a part of our life. What is pain actually made of experientially? Be very curious about this. Don't just accept an old thought pattern. So before we move on and come out of this lovely rest, just go back to, if you've moved away from the long, slow, deep breaths, just a couple more. And just to feel the opening, the expansion of the lungs, and just to feel the release when the air, it consciously exits the body. It's, when I say complex, this is something we could just explore, infinitely. The breath is a catalyst, which is infinite applications. Okay, and then if you can work your way out of that, those legs up high, maybe just push the bolsters away, or again, roll over to your side. And I just want to show the next thing that we're going to do. So the way we're going to start this is, we'll just start this with the legs relaxed out and about hip width distance, nice and relaxed, however, and we'll come into a forward bend here. Yeah, so this is our standard forward bend, legs hip width distance. So we'll relax into this, yes, and then we're going to come up out of it. We're just going to roll out of it, come down to the back, and start to bring the legs up. Now, however, if you can't go any further than this, I completely understand. And what you can do is you can either put your hands behind your knees and start to pull the legs up and over, or you can put a towel or a yoga belt behind the knees. So a little bit of pressure here, so we at least start to move towards the full position of this. And as many of you know, I'm a huge fan of this position just because of the compression into the endocrine system, affecting that system hormonally and chemically, but also
metabolism. Yeah. So if you can come higher, what I like to do is push on my fingers or my hands and bring the legs up over my head. And then you may transfer the hands to the back of the hips and support yourself here. So this is another stage. If you're able to, just come over and bring the knees on either side of the head, bending the knees. And then you can stay here. Again, you may still want to hold the hips. You could also interlock the fingers and then stretch the arms out. Yeah, so this is so lovely for the shoulders. And don't worry, we're not going to hold this for a crazy long time. And then we'll come back out of this. So whatever depth you're at, wherever you start, it's good. We got to start somewhere. And then we'll come back up, go back into that forward bend, extend the legs out, and then bring the body forward. And then we're going to go back into that lovely pose, compress into that endocrine system, and come back. Ooh, I don't know if we'll come back. Yeah, we may come back for one more forward bend. So let's start with the forward bend now that you have an idea what we're going to do. Legs out, relax. And especially, this is a tempting one to want to stretch, to think we need to get the forehead to the toes. We don't. We want to relax the lower back, round it, unengage those muscles, and just sink down and in. And again, coming to this non-narrative aspect of your experience, where you can truly allow it to be open-ended, not definable, and you're simply aware of the presence of energy, whether it's contracted, whether it feels open. This is a pendulum. This is a continuum. Okay, so let's roll up from here and come down to your back. And so this position, because it has so much, compression, especially in the throat, is very carefully timed. So this is not, I just don't let this go willy-nilly, just so you know. And then bring the knees up. And this is what I was saying. If you don't have a yoga strap, you can bring a blanket, bend the knees. I have it behind my knees, and I can kind of pull my hips up. Yeah, so this is the beginning of it. Yeah, good. If you can go a little bit deeper, you can maybe bring the hips up and over and put the hands on the lower back. Yeah. If you're able to let the knees come down on either side of the head, don't straighten the legs. And you can interlock the fingers or not, and we'll come into it. Good.
So just little breaths, don't need much air here. We won't hold it too much longer. Try to relax when the tension builds. Try to feel and reinforce the therapeutic benefits of compressing your internal organs. Good. So let's begin to unroll from this. So whatever depth you're at, might be nice to put the hands on the back of the hips to unroll. Yes, and you can put your feet on the floor. Support yourself coming up. Extend both legs out in front. Maybe have a little wiggle or wobble first. And then let's go back into the same forward bend. So legs hip width, hips relaxed. Curve soften the lower back. And if you're not completely sure what I mean by this non-narrative aspect of yourself, also known as silence. And just profoundly liberating in so many ways when we do start to discover that we are not the narrative, that we have a presence and we have a consciousness, we have awareness that is not contingent upon the narrative. So if the narrative has you convinced that it's you, this is something that we bring our inquiry to. And essentially that is the inquiry of yoga. Good. So from here, let's roll up again. And let's go back into the compressive curl here. So again, something behind the knees or just pull on them, a yoga strap, a blanket, come up to a secondary position with the hands on the back of the hips, or just keep coming over. So again, depth is not relevant. Don't completely cut off your air. Little sips of air are all you need. And just let the knees bend and just sink into it. I know you don't like that. Oh, you're gonna try, okay. Good. So let's roll down from there. And you can relax the legs out, keep the upper body where it is, and let's rest. And the problem with identifying with this internal narrative, with these stories that we have so carefully constructed about ourselves, is that they're just not true. And this is why they're subtly changing, and they challenge each other, and it's never enough and never good enough, because the edifice upon which the identity is built, it just simply isn't true. So the simplicity of the yoga is the relaxation below or behind the dialogue, below the appearing and disappearing of thought, beyond the movement and the arising and dissolving of sensation in the body, the way that the heart pulses and feels open and loving, and the way that the heart contracts and feels fearful and unsafe. So below this, at that depth of the ocean, is where we ultimately find the nature of ourself as consciousness. And then the storms that rage, the identities that get created, the challenges that come and go, that's life. But our equanimity and our peace and our safety, and ultimately our identity, comes from this place of stillness, this place of internal quiet, this open field of intelligent awareness, this place of I am. I am, and we do not need to add anything else. This is where we rest. Okay, so let us come on up, and so I want to do a backward bend, and I would like to just offer you 3 levels to it. Yeah. So I think, Colleen, this will be very easy to follow. Don't worry about the levels part. It's not really levels, it's just some choices. So we're going to use the big bolster. If you do not have a big bolster, then just pile up some pillows that will support your torso. Yeah, so we're going to come into a backward bend, and we want to support the torso. We're going to sit on the floor. So you're going to either use this, and if these are low pillows, so if you have low pillows, you might want to add something where the lumbar is, but we want the whole torso supported with the pillows. So work that out, but I'm going to show it with and talk about it with the bolster. It's just a lot easier. So the choices are, especially at this point, if you want to sort of bring it down a notch for a backward bend, we'll just use the long bolster from a vertical place, from the bottom of the spine all the way up to the skull. So you just tuck that in with no concern about bending the knees, and you just let the legs relax out. Yep. And so this is just a nice, for me, sometimes this is a little more restorative than yin. Other times it's definitely yin. So if the buttocks is on the floor and the bolster's tucked into the lumbar, this is just a lovely, like I said, it can be restorative and restful, and it still has some compression to it. If you would like to bend the knees back and still use the support, and you could even bring this up more, you could put a few pillows under this, then do that, bend the knees, and really check in with them first. Just really make sure it's good. So the knees can open and feel safe, the tightness in the quadriceps. So it's good to spend
whatever time you need, just sitting on the floor between the heels, make sure everything is good to go and safe. And then you can lower over this support. Yeah. So this is nice. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, just obviously the psoas and the quadriceps and the knees are now involved. Yeah. Or you could do this certainly without any bolstering at all. If you're feeling particularly frisky, just allow the whole body. Again, slowly though, I like to go to my forearms first and just checking in every little moment of the way down. And then if you want to do the full position without any bolstering, oh, that's lovely too. Okay, so those three choices for a backward bend: just a long bolster back or pillows, buttocks on the floor, same bolstering, knees bent back, or just the full saddle pose coming all the way into it. And again, as you're giving yourself this settling in time, letting your body acclimate and making sure that the compression feels therapeutic and not unsafe, you're always invited to go to this long, slow, deep breathing. Every moment is a mantra. And again, having some, just even if it's a vague sort of at the edges of your awareness, um, sort of honesty with oneself about how we're approaching our discomfort, from that place of, I wish it wasn't here, and I'm going to continue to keep it at a distance, to honoring it as an aspect of feedback and information that can show us where we are out of balance, or a letting go from the place of internal dialogue, and really allowing the
sort of the open-endedness and the honesty of not knowing, and feeling it just as this, pulsating energy presence, this vibrating energy presence, and how to just relax into that. So if you are in this position with your knees bent back, let's address that first. So best to, either way, if you're on the floor or over the bolster, I don't recommend coming up and forward. I like to roll to one side, release one knee, and roll over to the other side and release the other knee. And then once both legs are straight, let that, wherever it's reverberating, really appreciate and feel that, that response to the contraction, which would be openness, which would be release. So this is something to at least pay attention to, notice. And then when that passes enough, and if you already have your legs straightened out, and we can just roll, put the feet on the floor, roll off of this bolstering, and you can come into a place of relaxation. Place of relaxation, a final Shavasana. If you like, if you want to continue and you need to do more poses, please do. Or you can sit up with me and we'll take a few moments to come full circle from opening with silence to this point of closing. Namaste.